So you're welcome back. This is Onside with me, Joshua Holotu of Inshira FM and Love FM here in Kumasi. The World Cup is in full swing. Yesterday, we saw the opening match between Mexico and South Africa. What a game it was. Very controversial for a couple of reasons. We're going to dig into that. But what a game. The whole of Africa was in support of Mexico, except perhaps the South Africans, because so many things are going on in South Africa that quite a number of people here in Africa are not happy about. And so yesterday we saw Ghanaians, we saw DR Congo, nationals, we saw people from Senegal supporting, Mexico in that first game, which was, quite funny. But yeah, the outcome of the first game was that Mexico, they beat South Africa by 2 goals to nil. A number of stories coming in from there, which I think is worth digging into. So we're going to look at that because the goal scorers, the first one being Quinones, he got the tournament's first goal in the 9th minute. Very sublime goal that was literally given to him, right? Because Ronwin Williams, the goalkeeper for South Africa, made a mistake trying to pass the ball from the back, and Quinones got the ball and shot it into the goal. And you can tell how excited he was to get the tournament's first goal. I really love this graphic because he was racing towards the touchline to celebrate with his team members, and I thought that was good. And a very funny thing that happened after he scored the goal was that he decided to do the Shabalala dance from 2010, the first game between South Africa and Mexico in 2010, and that was very nice to see because in one way he was trying to mimic them, in another way he was giving us nostalgic feelings of what happened in 2010. So Quinones, he got the goal, the first goal, and I think that was a very good one. But before I move on, the controversies in the game, because referee Sampaio, he gave 3 red cards in one game. South Africa got 2 red cards and Mexico got 1 red card. But this is very, very, very interesting because when you look at the 2022 FIFA World Cup that was held in Qatar, out of the 64 games that were played, only 4 red cards were given. But yesterday alone recorded 3 red cards. Does this set the tone for more red cards in this tournament? A lot to be left to time to see and realize whether or not that's going to happen. But some of those calls, I would say, were straightforward. And if Sampaio's decision making on the day is anything to go by, it means that referees in this tournament are going to go strictly by the book. Once you commit an offense, that must be punished with a red card. The referees are not going to think twice. They're going to issue the red card, and perhaps they may even do that before they go and look at the video assistant referee. That is if what Sampaio, the Brazilian referee, in yesterday's opener, what he did was anything to go by. But I don't think that it's a good record because the last time we saw something like this was in the 1990 FIFA World Cup that was held in Italy, in Milan. That first game between Cameroon and Argentina also attracted 2 red cards for the Cameroonian national team, right? But they managed to beat Argentina in that game by 1 goal to nil. And don't forget that that game, Argentina's Maradona were coming into the 1990 FIFA World Cup as the defending champions after they won it in Mexico in 1986. So those are the dynamics involved. We have never seen 3 red cards in an opening game at the FIFA World Cup. So that was quite, a spectacle. And you can see it from here. Even in Russia 2018, right, the entire tournament saw only 4 red cards. So if in 2026 we have 3 red cards in one game, the opening game, by the time the tournament is over, we may have 30 red cards. It is possible it could happen. But Sampaio yesterday, I would have wanted to understand why he didn't, check the VAR to decide whether or not some of those red cards were actual red cards. Because I can agree that the Mexican red card that was awarded, perhaps he could have checked that and seen whether or not it was deserving of a red card, but he just went straight in his pocket and he dug it out. Yes, maybe you could disagree with me, but for some of these decisions, a red card is a huge dent, and it's also a big blot on the tactical setup of whatever team is playing on the day. So before a referee awards a red card, he may want to be very sure that that red card he's awarding is indeed a red card. So I think the video assistant referee would have to come into play more often, in my opinion. But yes, the 4 players that were given red cards in Qatar 2022 were Wayne Hennessy, the goalkeeper of Wales, then Vincent Abubakar of Cameroon, Denzel Dumfries of Netherlands, and also Walid Shedira of Morocco. They were the only players that got 4 red cards, right, in the entire tournament in 2022. But this time around, we've seen 3 already. We'll see how many more are going to be received. But this is Sitole. He got the first red card of the game for South Africa. That was a very reckless challenge, I must say. And he was deserving of that. And that made me question the mentality of the South Africans coming into this game. Because they would have agreed that they were more or less the underdogs in this game. Playing the first game in a high-stakes FIFA World Cup of this nature, you don't want to disappoint your home fans. Even if you're going to lose, put up a spirited performance that gives everybody something to look at and praise the team for. But after the performance yesterday, I don't think that people in South Africa will be happy. I don't think their citizens will be happy. I don't think Hugo Broos is going to be happy, their coach of South Africa, because their play was really flat, right? Ikram Reyners and Lyle Foster, they were lost in the game for most part of it. And they were playing as the front 2 attackers for South Africa. Very toothless on the day. And I was wondering what they were really doing, because Mexico in this particular game, what I observed was that they were really playing in, I would say, second gear. They were playing in second gear. If they had moved it to third or fourth gear, we would have seen a different Mexico altogether, which also explains why they took out most of their players around the 60th, 70th minute. They needed to rest them because of the weather conditions as well. So Mexico yesterday didn't really come with full force. They tried to play a very normal game and capitalize on the mistakes of the South Africans. And this was what they did. Got red cards that were not, didn't really make sense. The second red card coming here, and you wonder exactly what they were doing. They were just all over the place trying to play any kind of football at all. That was really surprising. But what a game for Raul Jimenez. And I don't know how many of you know his story, but he has come from a very difficult time and period in his life to score at this World Cup. He had played in 3 previous World Cup and had never scored. He was at Brazil 2014. He was in Russia 2018. He was also in Qatar 2022. He never scored a goal for Mexico. But yesterday, we saw that second goal he scored from a header. And that was so good to see, because when you talk about Raul Jimenez, you will also not forget the incident that happened in 2020 when he was playing for Wolverhampton Wanderers. They played a game against Arsenal. And in that game, he had a collision with David Luiz. And right after that collision, he literally lied on the floor. So many people thought he was actually dead. He actually bled on his brain, and that injury forced him out for close to 8 months. And spending 8 months on the sidelines before coming back, his coach even said it, that it took him 1 year after that to become the Raul Jimenez that we know. So he really struggled. A few months ago, he lost his dad, and his dad died out of pancreatic cancer. And so when that goal went in yesterday, the emotions just poured out, because he's been through a lot. He's seen very difficult times, but he's managed to rise to the occasion at 35 years, playing in front of his home fans at the Estadio Azteca in the first game of the FIFA World Cup 2026. This is remarkable. And this is why we love football, because the stories that are told and the narratives that come out of some of the games, you can never write those scripts anywhere. And I'm really happy for Raul Jimenez, because he also had quite a good game. He was taken off earlier. That was in the second half. But that goal alone defined his career in just a moment. And I think that the tears that came out were tears that necessarily had to come out. I think he would dedicate that goal to his late dad, who passed away some months ago. And that's the story of Raul Jimenez. Really, really happy for him. And at this point, you can see the excitement, right? And the emotions that poured out when the goal went in. But when you look closely at the statistics for this game, you can tell that Hugo Broos and his Bafana boys were really bruised on the day. 60-40. Look at the expected goals. 1.46 to 0.07. Very bad. And even look at the total shots. South Africa got only 3 shots throughout the entire game, to a 16 total shots for Mexico. Shots on target for South Africa got only 2. Then touches in the opposition box is worse, because South Africa got only 2 and Mexico got 20. So you wonder exactly what Ikram Reyners and Lyle Foster were doing in the box. And even creating chances in and around the box was a huge struggle. And there were times where they decided to go long. The ball was literally blocked. There were times they attempted to cross Mudau. They tried to cross the ball and it wasn't working. They kept on doing it. So this was a very abysmal performance from South Africa. The whole time Hugo Bruce was just sitting on the bench. And if a coach doesn't exhibit that zeal to correct things that are happening on the pitch, I don't know what the players are going to do. They are just literally going to say, and that is one thing that people are saying about the mentality of the South Africans. Because yesterday I was giving you an instance where it's been 30 years since the 1996 team that won that historic African Cup of Nations in South Africa. They did that amazing feat. 30 years down the line, are they going to say that South African football is in decline? That is really surprising, and I don't think that they would want to go on this tangent. They would want to try and see how they can fix the situation, because they're going to play Czechia. They're also going to play with South Korea. After the game I watched, right, between Czechia and South Korea yesterday, it doesn't look like South Africa can beat any of them. It's going to be very difficult for them to do that. But yesterday, Julian Quinones, he won the man of the match for Mexico, and that was great. The second match came on at 2 a.m. between South Korea and Czechia. South Korea won that game by 2-1. Very pulsating game. I watched a bit of it. I didn't watch the full game, but it was a really good game. Really good game from South Korea. And I think they are really happy about that. Very good goal from Inbion. And what he did over here was so amazing, right? According to Opta, South Korea, they strung about 25 passes before getting the ball into the net. And that's the most that South Korea have been able to put together in terms of passes before scoring at the FIFA World Cup. So that's a personal record for them, which they'll be very happy about and will guide them into the next games that they're going to play in that game. So Hwang In-beom, he won the man of the match in that game that was played. Today, a couple of matches are going to happen. Two host nations are going to play. We're going to see Canada come up against Bosnia-Herzegovina. We're also going to see USA play Paraguay. So these games are coming up today. Canada are 30th in the FIFA rankings currently. They don't really have that pedigree coming into this tournament, right? In their last 5 games, they've won 2, they've drawn 3. Yes, they are a host nation, but when you want to categorize, right, the host nations and their strengths, you would want to say Mexico is there on top, then before USA and Canada. But we'll see how they'll perform. That's Canada. We'll see how they're going to perform in this particular tournament. Coming up against Bosnia. Bosnia and Herzegovina, they managed to qualify for the World Cup at the expense of Italy over there. So we're going to see Canada in action later today. Then we're also going to see the USA. They are 17th on the FIFA rankings, not so bad. A team managed by Mauricio Pochettino. In their last 5 games, they've won 2, they've lost 3. Mauricio Pochettino has actually not won against any European opposition yet as coach of the USA men's national team. And that is very, very, very tricky for him, because he's coming up against Paraguay. Paraguay is a South American team, yes. They are local opponents. But he needs to get the results from this game, because as a host nation and with the whole world watching closely, you'd want to win the game and give the country a very good face in terms of football at the global stage. So some pressure on Mauricio Pochettino and his team to try and see what they can do in this game. And we will see Pulisic, Serginho Dest, and Timothy Weah and co in action later today. That game also has the respective times that they are going to be played here on the screen. So depending on your time zone, you want to know exactly when that game is going to kick off. But that's going to be 2 o'clock British Standard Time, which is tomorrow at dawn. Technically, that is 1 a.m. GMT. So take note of that, because some of the games are going to be played in the night. So if you want to stay up and watch, know the times, and then try and prepare for that as well. Let me end with the Ghana Black Stars, because finally they have arrived in Rhode Island, where they are going to be camping for the entire duration of the tournament. And look at the style. I was really impressed with the outfit that they put on when they left and arrived in Rhode Island. We wish the Black Stars the best, and we hope that they can get a very good result in that first game against Panama on June 17th. That's next week. I'll be doing a breakdown of that particular game when the time is due. But for now, let's look forward to so many other games. The games are going to be played today: Canada, Bosnia, and then we're also going to see USA and Paraguay. And that may give us some interesting results that we could see and analyze in the future episodes of this particular show. So this has been Onside with me, Joshua Holotu. Until I come your way again, see you in the next one.